Welcome back. I am John P. Today we are actually going to be doing a hands-on review of a kind of an interesting watch, to be honest with you. This is going to be a watch where you can actually swap the cases to a couple of different styles. Now, if you watch this channel or you follow me on Instagram, The Real John P, then you know I don't really do watch reviews, and certainly I don't do watch reviews of micro brands. The last one that I did is actually from the same company, right? And this was the Blue Planet watch, and I'll put a link in the description below because I thought that that watch was absolutely amazing, especially for the price point. Now, I wasn't the only one that thought this watch was amazing. Hundreds and hundreds of people did because they had so many orders. Also, people reached out to me and they couldn't get the watch, and I actually ended up selling mine to someone that had to have it. Now they are in stock, but the reality was this watch won the GPHG award. Now, if you're not familiar, the GPHG is a competition, the Grand Prix of Horology, where the best, some of the best watchmakers all partake, and they enter in a watch and they're judged in various categories. And this particular company, CIGA, who I'll be reviewing a watch here, the Magician, in just a minute, they had a Blue Planet watch coming from China, fully produced, designed, everything manufactured in China, and it blew away all of the other entrants in the category, including Oris. And Oris has released some truly phenomenal watches the past couple of years. And so I think that alone really is a testament to the dedication, particularly from the founder of this company. His name is Zhang Jiamin, and he's a notable industrial designer, of course, hailing and living and working in China. So I think it's amazing, and it's pretty important that to also note that this company in China has received very large investments from essentially the Chinese equivalent of something like a Google or a Sony or even an Amazon, right? If you're familiar, maybe you're Chinese or you're familiar with what goes on there. They have a company called JD, as well as there's also a company, Xiaomi. And these two companies are huge, right? Hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue, and they invested in this company, CIGA. So there's a lot of movement behind them. And I didn't really plan on doing any other micro brand reviews, but I guess at that level, that kind of investment from a power player like that, albeit in a different country that I'm located in, I think I don't really know that we can consider that to be a micro brand any longer. But without further ado, let's go ahead and let's start talking about it. Actually, this watch is right here. And we'll put some video here for you. But this is going to be the CIGA Design Magician. Now, this watch is not actually released yet. There'll be a link down in the description below of this video where you can type in your interest that you'd like to pre-order or support their campaign in that kind of way. They run that. I'm not affiliated with that in any way, but just put the link in case you are interested in this watch. So this watch, the Magician, is unique because it allows you to swap the cases. There's 3 different types of cases, and the cases click onto a center housing, essentially, that stores a movement. Now, what's very cool about this is how easy it is to use. Now, I'm not just saying that because I don't know why I would say that unless it was true, and we'll put a video here. There's these buttons that you pretty much just push and the whole case pops out. It's kind of like some of the brands like JLC, and I believe Zenith does this on some of their models now, where you can put the bracelets or the straps in kind of that hot swap changeable button push. And so I thought that was a pretty phenomenal design, especially when we get to this later and talk about the price point. It's difficult to find a function like that on a watch of this price point. And don't worry, at the end of this video, I am also going to be sharing with you my true thoughts and opinions, more than just the specs of the watch, but also what I think about this watch, who it's for, who it's not for. So make sure to stick around to the end of this video. So we have 3 different styles or cases. First, we have the square, which I have here. And what I like about the square is probably going to be the size. Now, with the cases, you have 44 millimeters and you have 46. So something to keep in mind there is this is a larger watch. Myself, we'll talk about this at the end, but myself, I like the square one a lot. It's very reminiscent of a Bell & Ross kind of a thing. I like it. I think it's interesting. It kind of gives you, once again, that avant-garde Richard Mille style look with a little bit of a Bell & Ross feel to it. that's kind of what I would say about the square one. That happens to be my favorite of the styles here. But also they have a circle version, which I think is very cool. It kind of looks like, now I know I'm comparing it to the Swiss watches out there, but it looks a lot like a Roger Dubuis Excalibur, for example, or some of the variations that they currently have floating around out there for, $50,000 plus. So that's kind of the name of the game, I think, with the CIGA brand outside of that Blue Planet, is giving you a style at a much lower price point. And we'll talk about some of the quality aspects later, but that's kind of the feel for them I get. But I do like the circle example as better. Once again, very large, but something to note is that the steel, right? Like when you touch and hold the steel, I've handled so many watches at this point. When they're using a quality steel, we'll put some macro shots in this video so you can kind of see what we're working with, but the edges are pretty sharp. The edges are surprisingly very sharp, and this isn't something that I would see very often at watches at this price point. When you start getting into some of the tooling and the CNC and the milling and this and that, I know there's going to be some metal workers out there that are absolutely going to be shaking their heads that I even attempted to throw my hat in the ring there with the terminology. But they actually do a pretty good job in terms of the finishing on the case and the construction. That is something that really struck me right away. But lastly, we also have a tonneau shape. And this is going to get you into that more Richard Mille kind of a look, right? Spirit of the Big Bang, if we want to talk Hublot. You pair that with, of course, the skeletonized watch. This movement, I do suspect that it's going to be a clone movement, but it is pretty decently finished. It's a skeleton watch. Sometimes in lower price point skeleton watches, you see them completely unfinish the movement. Certainly with CIGA, you can see here, they actually spruced it up a bit, or even a little bit more than a bit, for those kind of watch collector guys or gals that know a little bit more than your average, online shopper, I think you'd say. So it's a watch that I think is geared towards the collector more than the casual, but we'll see, right? I think it's a newer company and they're still developing their market. So I'm pretty impressed knowing that these watches are retailing for about $600. Now, I'm also being told that the watch is also going to have a couple of other versions. It's not released yet, so keep in mind things like the movement, things maybe like the cases, the case metal. These things could change once the watch is produced, set to be released in August. But overall, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good watch. I know there's going to be some purists out there that will say, oh, the watch is coming from China, but I think considering they've had other models, or a model that's won the GPHG award, and now we start seeing some really high-end products come out of China, right? Think Shanghai Tang, for example. I think we're starting to see things change as well. We're starting to see, factories that produce watches like this also build micro brands from some notable Swiss brands out there and ship the parts over. So I think what they're doing here is a testament to what's truly capable at anywhere in the world, as long as you have the expertise, the know-how, and the funding, right? Don't forget they have a lot of funding, and I think that's what's pretty key to their success. But this watch can be had at the link in the description below. It's set to be released in August. You can, pre-order it, or, follow the link and the instructions are there if you'd like to partake. Now, my final thoughts on this watch. Would I wear the watch? If my wrist was bigger, I would consider wearing it. But if you know me, you know this channel, I have to be honest, I am more of a vintage watch, traditional proportions kind of person. Maybe that's the bias in me, the wrist size talking, but I am more of a classic watch wearer. Now, would this watch be for someone else? Yes, of course. Who would this watch attract? Someone that likes a Bell & Ross, I think, is a fair example. Maybe the person that wears a Bell & Ross skeleton. Of course, the Roger Dubuis Excalibur and the variations or the current versions of those watches, the skeletonized, Spirit of the Big Bang, Hublot, Richard Mille type of purchaser that may or may not totally intersect and overlap with watch collectors in general. But I think this kind of new age, new style, swappable case form factor really could be something we see in the future. I think they did a pretty good job with it. If this is something you're looking for, once again, link in the description below. But I want to know, what are your thoughts? I know they're probably going to be looking down in the comments below because they're always curious. Hey, John P., what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So leave that down in the comments below. Please feel free to check that out. You can buy their other watches, including the Blue Planet, on their website. I think Amazon is also selling the products there too. So you can check that out. And we'll see you next time. You've been chatting with John P.